Oh boy, 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 oh boy.
I'm mad at Jim, but I'm really mad at myself. Because I decided, let's take a look at all the Alien games that we can. Guys, it's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game. And today, to Jim's excitement, we are looking at Alien vs. Pinball for Pinball FX3. Some bullshit. I don't know why we're doing this.
Pinball!
We're doing pinball. Jim's thing. Sigh.
Yeah. So, originally released in 2017, Pinball FX3 was developed and published by Zen Studios, and it comes out on Windows, through Steam, the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. But Aliens vs. Pinball also has a standalone port on mobile phones, which I just learned about, so I guess I'll eventually have to check that out. But for the purpose of this review, we're just looking at the one through Pinball FX3. And this Aliens vs. Pinball pack also came out in September of 2017, so it was pretty much right around the same release time. And yeah, so Pinball FX has been like a really revered kind of pinball franchise for the past decade or so, ever since it basically started. So this is my first time digging into it, surprisingly enough. Same with Brian. Let's see if it deserves all the love.
The graphics. So, you know Jim is the pinball guy with this channel.
Yeah.
This is truly, other than Demon Crush, probably the first pinball game I've really ever played on a video game, and I gotta be honest, this looked amazing to me. So you have 3 tables available to you, the first being the Aliens table, the second being Alien Isolation, and the third Alien vs. Predator. Each one has a completely different look and a different feel to it, but if you go into detail, man, they took these licenses and added a lot of little touches that I appreciated, especially on this Aliens table. Not only do you have the Queen moving about, being able to hit your ball, at some points you'll have xenomorphs popping up and you gotta deal with them. But what's even better is you're not always on the table. You can hit these little mini games and you're all of a sudden doing like a little driving mission through an area. Or if you're in a specific area of the table, all the lights turn off and there's fog. I love all these effects because this is all stuff you're not going to get on a real pinball table. And not to mention, you have the ability to zoom in or zoom out. So depending on how you play pinball, this really can meet your needs. The other 2 tables look great too. I just think Aliens looks the best. Still, even I cannot knock the fact that these graphics look great. So when it comes to scores, we both gave it 9s. I'm not going to be so biased against pinball games that I can't accept the fact that this looks goddamn beautiful. So I'm not even going to give it a beer.
Right!
Yes, Jim?
There's also the fact that if you play it on Switch, you can play it in Tate mode.
It's not safe.
I don't know if these tables are on there, but Pinball FX3 is, so there's that.
Alright, I just dropped the graphics down there too. No! Nobody plays it on Switch!
Yeah.
Damn it. I'll leave that in.
Good, do it. So when it comes to sound, like, this is really, really good. Like, okay, so everything seems to be just ripped right from the movies. So the background music that you get, the sound effects that you get, the little voiceovers that you get, everything seems to be either ripped from the movies or from the video game. So, what can I complain about? So, like a typical pinball table, like the music that's playing during as you're playing, it doesn't, like, stand out. It's good. It's ripped right from the license, but it's not, memorable, which is fine, though, because you need, it's good, it's perfect background noise. So, yeah, I mean, everything here is just really solid. So it's not, we might ding it a little bit just because it's nothing original here. So, they play it on easy mode, but, I mean, I can't complain when it's this good. So we both gave it 8s. And when it comes to beer, you really don't need any.
The control I can keep fast because at the end of the day, it's a pinball machine. There's not a lot of extras thrown in here. But what I will say, and I noticed this, I thought maybe because I don't play enough pinball games, but Jim agrees. There is just the ever so slight amount of lag for your input. and you can get used to it, but it doesn't just feel like precise. And the tilt is all but useless. I tried it a few times, Jim did as well. It really just never seemed to work the way you would really want it to. So aside from that, it's fine, and the mini games are simplistic enough, but even when you're driving a car, like hitting left or right, there's definite lag there. So it just kind of empowers what I'm already saying. It doesn't stop you from enjoying the game if you like pinball games, so we both gave it a 7. It's above average, but that little bit of lag is annoying, so for that lag, I'm gonna add 2 beers.
So the gameplay. So if you followed us for a while and you know me, you know I love my video pinball. And the thing I love the most about is the fact that it can do things that you can't do with regular tables. And these tables are no different. Like, there's so many little motions and everything going on in the background. And like Brian mentioned before, when you hit certain mini games, you get like transported to almost a completely different style of game in general. So that's always cool. But for the tables themselves, they're all really solid, but there's like a pecking order. So Alien is definitely the best one in our opinion. So Brian thought Alien Isolation was the worst one, and I kind of thought AVP was the worst one. But Alien Isolation also was kind of the most frustrating to me because like it had random times where the synths would pop up and they were just like targets that got in the way of everything. And I hated it every time that happened, and it happened too much. So every table feels drastically different from the one before. Like, we can give it that. And besides that, though, I mean, it's video pinball. What can you expect? So I don't know if it's going to be one of the ones like the Crush games where you can have an actual ending. I don't really think it probably does, but it does give you multiplayer options, and there is a global leaderboard. So if you're one of those score chase nuts, this is perfect for you because you can just play and play and play and compete. And there's a ton of in-game achievements, and there's a leveling up system too. So as you level up, you can unlock different little boosts that you can put to your score or to your balls or to things that happen. And it can kind of change up the whole gameplay, you know, with whatever you use. Or you just play it straight up like a table with nothing on it. So the world's your oyster. Let's put it that way. So when it comes to scores, I'm going to give it an 8 and Brian gave it a 7. Like, I mean, this is just a really solid game of video pinball. What more can you say? And when it comes to beer, I'll just add... Man, I really hid those synths in Alien Isolation. That took away from such a good table. So 1 beer for that. Man.
The originality I can keep quick. Jim is the expert here, but for me, the only thing that felt original is that this is the first licensed video game pinball game. I know Aliens had a lot of other actual pinball tables out there, so this is the first one that you can get virtually. Outside of that, it's everything you would expect. You have missions, you have different tables, you have all the little accoutrement, if you will.
Fancy.
But there's not a ton here that really makes it stand out. So we could only give it 3s. When it comes to beer, I'm not even going to add any. Because really, what are you going to expect from a pinball machine at this point?
So replayability. I mean, it's a video pinball game. I mean, all you're doing is score chasing. So, I mean, you have the multiplayer options too, which is, you know, that's cool, and all the different ways you can change it up with the achievements and the boosts and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, if you like score chasing, you'll like this. If you don't like score chasing, you're not going to come back to it. So we had to give it a 5 at that point. Look, I love it, so I'm definitely going back to it, but I'm also a pinball fan. So if you're not a pinball fan, it won't convert you. That kind of deal. And when it comes to beer, I'll just add 1 for... I mean, it's pinball. It is what it is.
So overall, I'll be honest. As someone who's not a pinball fan, I actually had a lot of fun playing this. But more specifically, I really love the Aliens table. The other 2 tables got a little annoying to me, but I went back a ton of times to play that Aliens, way more than I thought I ever would. And as someone who's played, like I said, literally 2 or 3 other ones, this is my favorite pinball game. So I was surprised how much I actually enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is... I mean, for all the pinball I play, this is weird. This is my first time dipping into FX3. So, yeah, I'm cheap. I don't want to have like a big overall service and have to buy tables after the fact. But I mean, Aliens vs. Pinball was $10, and to me, it was well worth the cost. Like, these are really good tables.
You just want to overpay for old obscure pinball games on
that
systems.
Is right.
So I mean, hey, if you're a pinball fan, you might be going, "No shit, this is a good game." Like Jim said, Pinball FX it's a known standard for pinball games. But for me, as a first timer really diving into it, I had enjoyment, so it could maybe convert some of you. I did appreciate how many different licenses they had, and maybe in the future, if we cover some of those, we can dip back into it. Because, yeah, pinball's not my thing, but I enjoyed it, my time. So,
yeah, I mean, what do you call it? There's not much to say. It's a very solid platform for pinball games, and they just open themselves up with all the licenses they get. So kudos to them.
Yeah. When it comes to score, I gave it a 7. Jim gave it an 8. 7 is, quite honestly, probably the highest I'll ever go. But when we combined all of our scores together, it's a 7.2. And that's pretty high for our ratings. It's undeniable. The looks, the sounds, and just the amount they have within each table will really keep you coming back.
Yeah, and I'll say if you're like a hardcore Alien fan, it's kind of a must play, even if you don't really like pinball.
Yeah, so with that, give it a try if you love the franchise. Otherwise, have a good night. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
When it comes to beer pairing, I'm actually going to do something a little more unique this time and suggest a variety pack, because you have 3 very different tables. And I like the idea of pairing it with something like this Dos Equis Lager Especial. Now, there are 4 different flavors here, so you can mix and match, but I think you can find an interesting combo if you're playing each table and you're trying a different flavor. You have a lot of different varieties here. You're going to have some sweet, a little bit sour, so try it out. Just like these games, I'm sure you're going to have your own pecking order, so see what you like the most. Get this little 12-pack here, but remember to drink your beers and play your games responsibly.